Would you dance if I asked you to dance? Or would you run and never look back? Would you cry if you saw me crying? Or would you save my soul tonight?
Would you tremble if I touched your lips? Or would you laugh? Oh, please tell me this. Now would you die for the one you love? Or hold me in your arms tonight?
I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can take my breath away. Would you swear that you'll always be mine? Or would you lie? Would you run and hide?
Am I in too deep? Have I lost my mind?
Oh, I don't care, you're here tonight. I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can take my breath away. Oh, I just wanna hold you. I just wanna hold you. Oh yeah.
Am I in too deep? Have I lost my mind?
Well, I don't care, you're here tonight. I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain, oh yeah. I will stand by you forever. You can take my breath away. I can be your hero, and I can kiss away the pain, and I will stand by you forever. You can take my breath away.
You can take my breath away.
And I can be your hero.
Hello, hello, hello. Now I'm live. Now I have volume. How are you? Was just moving a couple things around, and I'm waiting for you to show up. Today is gonna be a pretty good topic. It's something that that I actually found. It was in one of my groups, and thought, wow, this is interesting that this is being brought up right now, and it got me thinking. And then of course thinking got me to old Google's where I had to do a little research and had some conversations with some folks about it throughout this week, and and wanted to address it and see what we could find and come up with. I do want to, before we really get going and diving into any of or all of this, I wanted to say Twitch was having some kind of glitch in the system. I think last week, the last podcast I had done, I had a little break where it dropped out and then it came back. So that was interesting, and but it just kind of had this little, movie thing, like Act 1, Act 2. It had one of those in there for a short pause, and then I just came right back up. So I didn't do a whole lot of podcasting since then. I actually haven't done any. And then, of course, we had some family issues with my mother being sick, and hence HIPPA, right? It's not why. Believe me, it's not why. It just so happened to have come up, and I'm glad I get to kind of dip up in there and just check it out. So, anyway, in any hoodoo, that's what's up, and here we are. Today, we are going to have this discussion, and without further prolonging, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Hi, welcome to Matt Dupree's podcast. Today we're going to be talking about HIPAA, what it means, our rights, and are those rights being violated, right? Talking about, obviously, at the workplace. I recently read a post, I was just telling you, on one of my group pages where someone posted about it. Here, you're going to hear tonight what they said in their post, and then I will share with you my experience with having that happen not that long ago to me as well, and we'll dive into some facts that we should all be aware of. But first, let's get right to the disclaimer. I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or therapist of any kind, nor do I have any education in those fields. I am an expert on my own life and my many experiences throughout. Tonight, I will take you to yet another one of my experiences as we dive into HIPAA. HIPAA. That's right. That's what we got. Hey, how are you, Sharon? How's it going? Nice of you to be here. So, that's what we're going to dive into. The wonderful medical HIPAA. And then just really quick, I know you guys see I'm checking something out. I wanted to get this in the beginning, and I just didn't get it over to myself. I thought I had, but I really didn't. So, in case you guys don't know what HIPAA stands for, right? What its acronym is, or abbreviation, it's Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, right? So that's what it stands for: Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. There it is. So, so what I want to do first is I want to share with you, like I said at the very beginning, I want to, if I could get my phone to work right, I want to share first with you the post that actually got me to got me stirred up with the HIPAA thing. So I'm going to share that with you, and then if you'd like to share your comments or your concerns or any thought, it's always welcome, and it's safe here. Okay, you're safe. Okay. So this person, and this person will remain anonymous, as all my people that I speak of do, and usually will, unless they are here with me, right? And this person ain't here with me, so this person will stay anonymous. This person says, so I don't know how I feel right now. Tonight I found out that my supervisor at my job outed me as a trans to other employees. I've been honest with others at my job once I felt comfortable with them. But these employees are just here to help and not staying. I don't know what to do. So this person at their job was outed. We talked about that. As trans folks, it's difficult. It's shady. It's unsafe because we don't know who those people are we're being outed to. We don't know what goes on in their daily life. Like he said, these people, they're not staying at this job site. They're just here to help. So, we don't know these people. So there's your one fear. Your biggest concern right here is that I know what you probably are thinking. How does this become a HIPAA thing? I'm going to tell you very simply. It's a HIPAA thing because most of us trans folks are being followed by either a doctor, HRT doctor, and a surgeon, one or the other, or both, or maybe all, right? We also have psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, endocrinologists. We have surgeons, right? So that falls under a HIPAA law, the HIPAA Act, that protects us from these sorts of things being talked about on the job site. It's medical. And even if I told you that I'm trans, that's okay. I can tell you what I want to about my medical. But it doesn't mean that just because I told you about my medical, now you get to run and go tell everyone else. It doesn't work that way. If I told you in confidence, and I am in hope and trusting you with this information in hopes that it will stay between you and I. And for you to take my medical information and then decide you're going to spread it around is creating a violation of the HIPAA Act. It's a HIPAA violation. Eventually, we got to get that concrete into law. I believe it's coming. But anything that has to do with medical is a violation of the protection we have under the HIPAA Act, the HIPAA violation. So he I will read it again. His dilemma, right? Seems like he says, I don't know how I feel tonight. Tonight I found out that my supervisor at my job outed me as a trans to other employees. I've been honest with others at my job once I felt comfortable with them. But these employees are just here to help and not staying. I don't know what to do. So you can imagine he got bombarded with suggestions and with comments, which a lot of them were really, really spot on. They were really good to know that, to hear and to see the support and the people that came together with their input in their comments, and mine as well was just not cool. It violates your privacy and a HIPAA violation, right? Privacy, medical privacy. We trans folks who are taking HRT and have or had surgeries are being followed by surgeons and physicians, healthcare physicians, which makes it a HIPAA violation to discuss anything about us to others, right? It opens the door to discrimination, retaliation, hostile work environment, and much, much more. I would have a conversation, which I have done myself, to say, when you share my personal information with others, you put my safety at risk. We don't know how these folks are going to respond to my identity, and I no longer feel safe. This is not cool, my friend. So that was my comment back to him in his dilemma and his situation. So I know just recently at my job, I had kind of a similar situation where it wasn't my supervisor. It was someone in a supervisory position, a lead role, who somehow had one of their subordinates calling me she. She and her. In a conversation there was only 3 people in, and all 3 of us were males. There was not a female in the room. But yet, this person I had never known, never met, just let it flow. She and her. And I'm like, it was upsetting. When I had the opportunity to bring it up to his attention, I got the 3rd degree. Right? The 3rd degree, because he didn't want to own it. He'd rather tell me stories about it, or he could have heard it from anywhere, anyone, and which only leaves me to ask even more questions, like how many people here know that I haven't spoke with? How many people here, know my personal, private life, medical? Who has violated my rights, right, to the medical privacy like we're all entitled to. In my research of this topic, I took old Google's and shook his brain up a little bit, and he ended up taking me to quite a few sites that I was able to kind of look through and dive into. And one of it was, can my employer disclose my medical information to other employees? This is from a website, jacksonwhitelaw.com, if you want to ever check it out. And this came out of my Googles, took me to this website. And it says there are a number of federal laws that protect against the disclosure of employee medical information in the workplace. While the language of each law is slightly different, the consensus is universal. Employers are held to strict confidentiality rules when it comes to acquiring and disclosing an employee's medical information. Boom, it's right there. Unless a manager, supervisor, or human resources employee has a legitimate need to know, it's safe to say that an employer that discloses private medical information to other employees is breaking the law. Depending on the situation, the employee is in question could file a federal complaint and seek compensation for damages through a civil lawsuit. Know your rights, right? That's what we're doing. It's called Information Station. Maybe that's what I should have named this. Mo's Information Station podcast. Come on in and find out what we need to know to protect ourselves. That's right. It says it right there. JacksonWhiteLaw.com. You could Google it. You could go to the website. That's what it says. JacksonWhiteLaw.com. And that's where you'll find that. It says federal law regarding the privacy of medical information. The following federal laws have provisions that apply to the confidentiality and disclosure of an employee's private medical information. And then it goes on to the FMLA. So if you ever, it goes on the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. Boom. Many, many, many things right here. It's covered under www.jacksonwhitelaw.com. Okay? So that was an interesting and very powerful one. I wanted to start there with that one. So digging even more, then I get on over to hold on, I'm looking. I don't remember exactly where I was in this. Oh yeah, I remember this one. So this one, they don't want to even give me the information, but what I had to do here, because I'm a little smarter than the next guy, because I had to go and screenshot it so that we could talk about it. Let's see. Here we go. So this next one, it is, what are the confidentiality rules for employee medical information, right? It says the primary federal employment laws regarding confidentiality of medical information are the Americans with Disease Act, the ADA, and the Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act, HIPPA. Which law applies will depend on the source of the medical information. Even when not specifically protected by law, it is a recommended practice to keep all employee medical information confidential. The ADA requires employees to maintain the confidentiality of employee medical information obtained from a medical inquiry or examination, including medical information from voluntary health or wellness programs. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, provides the following examples of when medical information may be shared. So if you're listening, here's where you want to pay attention. To supervisors and managers when they need medical information in order to provide a reasonable accommodation or to meet an employee's work restriction. That's one. To first aid and safety personnel. To first aid and safety personnel if an employee needs emergency treatment or would require some other assistance, such as help during an emergency evacuation because of a medical condition, right? To individuals investigating compliance with the ADA and with similar state and local laws. To a state workers' compensation office in order to evaluate a claim or for insurance purposes. Employers must also maintain an employee's medical records separately from the employee's general personal file, with access to such files restricted to designated offices. Designated officials. HIPAA. The HIPAA, and that was the ADA. Now we're going to listen to what HIPAA says. The HIPAA privacy rule requires employers to maintain the confidentiality of employee medical information that was derived directly from the group health plan. This information is care. Cleaning houses have additional requirements for patients' records. Well, hold on. Well, I missed a thing. Anyway, therefore, for most employers, the group health plan will be covered entirely under HIPAA, and as a plan sponsor, the employer must ensure legal compliance. Other medical records an employer may obtain through its role as an employer, such as sick leave notes or workers' compensation records provided directly by employees or physicians, are not covered under HIPAA, but would be covered under ADA. So what doesn't cover you on the one side gets you on the back side. The other one's got your back. For example, if the company human resources director reads in the health benefits plan quarterly report that an employee has pancreatitis, this file is protected under the HIPAA privacy rule and should not be shared with others without the employee's permission. On the other hand, information about an employee who complains of migraines to her supervisor and requests time off from work is not a HIPAA privacy rule matter. We got that, right? But it would be covered under the ADA confidentiality rule. Interesting. Many states have their own confidentiality rules for employee medical information that may be more restrictive than federal laws. Employers, it says the HIPAA privacy rule should not be shared with others without the employee's permission. On the other hand, information about an employee who complains of migraines, I just read that. And then it says state laws, we got there. It said rules for employee medical information that may not be more restrictive than federal laws. Employers should be familiar with these rules in the states where employees are working, and then it takes you to another website. A lot there, right? A lot going on with that. So HIPAA and ADA. That's right. It says confidentiality. Basic rule. With limited exceptions, you must keep confidential any medical information you learn about an applicant or employee. Information can be confidential even if it contains no medical diagnosis or treatments course, and even if it is not generated by a healthcare professional. Example: an employee's request for a reasonable accommodation would be considered medical information subject to the ADA's confidentiality requirements. So, practice tip: do not place medical information in regular personal files, rather keep them separate. So that just goes on to give employers a heads up on where they should keep that information separate from what is already in the employee's chart, right? Roger Dodger, you following me so far? Let me see if I already got you there. So we're gonna scoot on over to resources for managers and colleagues of transgender employees. We're going to get right back to that one. But before I do, I want to tell you about HIPAA rules for trans folks. Does it differ? We're going to find out. Ensuring the privacy of transgender employees in the face of public transition. Transgender individuals have good reason to be concerned about expressing their gender identity in the workplace. According to recent studies, at least 1 in 5 transgender individuals reports experiencing employment discrimination. Been there, done that. A review of 6 studies conducted between 1996 and 2006 showed the following concerning reports of mistreatment in the workplace based on gender identity. 13 to 56% of transgender individuals had been fired. 13 to 47% had been denied employment. Denied. Boom. Get out. Right? 22 to 31% had been harassed either verbally or physically in the workplace. And 19% had been denied a promotion due to their transgender status. I don't know. I could relate to pretty much every one of them except being fired. I ain't been fired for it. I haven't been denied employment because of it, because I've been with my company for a long time, and I just have come out trans just in the last couple of years publicly and living it out loud. It says most employees choose whether, when, and to whom they disclose certain personal information at work. However, transgender individuals who decide to transition from one gender to another while remaining with their current employer do not have the same luxury, right? I know it well, and the reason I know it well is because that's me they just spoke about. I'm in that category. I'm still with the same company that I was with before the transition, so they already knew. This largely is due to the inherently public nature of the transition. Indeed, an employee who intends to undergo a gender transition generally is required to live full-time in their new gender role for at least a year before becoming eligible to undergo sex reassignment and or reconstruction surgery, if they so choose to have surgery, which many do not. During this time frame, transgender individuals often seek a variety of medical treatments, including hormone therapy, as well as changing their names, modify their identity documents, and other procedures. As a result, employers and coworkers necessarily, but often reluctantly, become involved in a transitioning employee's gender transition. While a gender transition is an inherently private process, it necessarily becomes known to coworkers at some point by the very nature of the transition. We get that. And it says, what does that mean for the employer who receives notice that an employee intends to transition from one gender to another over the course of several weeks or months? More importantly, how does an employer reconcile this very public transition with potential state and federal laws protecting confidential medical information, which requires employees to maintain private information about an employee and protect against potential common law claims like invasion of privacy? This is made more difficult by the very nature of the public transition for transgender employees. For all practical purposes, it is somewhat similar to when an employee discloses to, hey brother, what's up? When an employee discloses to limited individuals that she is pregnant, right? Employers must not and should not disclose this fact that is private until the pregnant employee begins to show. To others who do not need to know or confirm, this is information to colleagues. And while such information may inherently or eventually become public due to the employee's appearance, it necessarily is up to the employee to decide when and to whom to disclose such information. It's up to the employee, not the employer. He doesn't get to go around telling everybody your business. He puts you at risk, safety risk. More than that, again, we've talked about this on the trans, one of my trans podcasts. We don't know what these people are thinking. We don't know who's listening to this conversation and what their views and values are and what they, what kind of person they are. And this may trigger something in them that I just don't like those kind of people, or I don't understand them, and it, boom, sets them off. And now you are at risk, right? Such is the case with an employee who announces an intention to change gender. An employee's transgender status, where the employee is in this process of transitioning, and especially the employee's medical condition and or plans for future medical procedures, must be treated as private and confidential. That is kind of tough. I get it. I know it's tough. So my transition, I started when I was at PHX, and those folks knew me there well. And even though at NPX, I would sometimes go help them out when they got themselves in a bind and they needed a driver to come and help them. So I would come on over to the other side of town and work there, and I tell you what, those guys, even though I did meet a few of them, I don't think they had great memories, because less than a year later, I started my transition in full swing, and then I transferred out of where I was into where I am currently, with a lot of the guys that had known me, and we had conversation with the several, not known me, I guess I can't say, but had met me. And we've had, quite a few exchanges and conversation over the time that I would come over here and help them out. Hell, those guys didn't even recognize me. I had one guy, I sat in the truck with him for a whole day, and he didn't know, he could not put his finger on it. It's like, I said, because, I do know you. I met you when I was helping out here. And he's like, who are you? I was like, I don't remember. I would have remembered your face or something. I'm like, huh? So, that's pretty interesting. And it is tough. I get where they say with this confidentiality and trans, if you begin to transition at your current workplace, it's kind of hard to keep a lid on it, right? Just like they compared it to a pregnant woman. We'll keep it confidential until we can't anymore. And, and got it the ball, the cat's out the bag, right? And it's on you, right? I get it. But it still doesn't give them the right to go and discuss your medical or your transition or your pregnancy. Doesn't give them the right to go blab their mouth about something that isn't theirs to blab about. And you could say it all day long. I'm 4 months pregnant. I'm, 4 months in transition, right? You can say it all day long to whoever you want. That's your choice. But if I tell you, that doesn't open the door for you to go tell everyone else. It's still my medical information that's at risk. And I am entrusting that in you confidentially. So that's where it just always is going to come back to that. But I do understand how terribly confusing and hard this could be on the employer, right? And there's a fine line they have to really, really, really pay attention to. Medical information also may be received by employers in a variety of ways and circumstances. Depending on the nature of that information or how it is received, the information may be protected under federal laws, such as, like I said, HIPPA. It's Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Genetic Information Discrimination Act, GINA. I never heard of that one, I must say. Never heard of it. Just did. Genetic. I have to check into that one. Or the ADA, Americans with Disability Act, which does exclude so the ADA does exclude transgender status from the definition of disability, but protects most medical information of current employees. Regardless, out of sheer courtesy to the employee, the information should not be discussed in any office chatter, period. All right? Anyone have anything to say? Any questions before I continue on? Anything you want to share? Have you ever felt violated in that way of your medical information being tossed around like that? No? Anyone? Me? Only me? Sharon? Anyone? Alright. Well, it says in addition to privacy, good stuff. Thank you, brother. In addition to privacy concerns, employers should be aware that more and more cases are expanding the boundaries of discrimination under Title VII. I had to look. The definition of sex. And most particularly, sorry, I keep messing the word, the definition of sex. In September 2008, the Federal Court of the District of Columbia ruled that the Library of Congress discriminated against Diane Schroer on the basis of sex. Schroer versus Billington. While dressed in traditionally masculine clothing and interviewing under her previous male name, Schroer was offered a job as a terrorism research analyst with the Congressional Research Service, a division of the Library of Congress. After the job offer, but before starting and before undergoing sex reassignment surgery, Schroer informed the Library of Congress that she was under a doctor's care for gender dysphoria. Schroer informed her future employer that, consistent with her treatment, she was about to change her name, begin dressing in traditionally feminine attire, and presenting herself full-time as a woman. The job offer was rescinded one day after Schroer disclosed her plans to transition. This groundbreaking decision was the first time a court has ruled that discriminating against someone for changing gender is sex discrimination under Title VII. While case law usually develops a bit slower, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA, still is on the horizon. With a new administration in Congress, most predict that the version of ENDA likely to be introduced will add to Title VII express protections for gender identity or expression in addition to sex orientation. Changing the laws. They're putting us, they're thinking about the people who are here, us, all people. And they're protecting us, which is good. We need that protection. We all need it. It's not good just for one person. It's good for every people, all people. Protection, that we don't lose our jobs. Protection, that we can go apply for a job and not be denied because we are trans, right? Or we are non-binary, or we are, whatever on that continuum, right? Whatever that is. We're lesbian, we're gay, we're straight, we're bald, we're fat, we're short, we're whatever. We can't be denied. It's discrimination. You got missing a limb. It's discrimination, right? So how does an employer manage to maintain this balance while also fostering a non-discriminatory work environment where all employees are treated with trust and respect? Here's some helpful guidelines. Amend your equal employment opportunity policy to prohibit discrimination based on gender identity or expression. Several states, most recently New Hampshire and Washington, have passed bills protecting individuals on the basis of gender identity or expression. And then be prepared to address questions and requests from employees who notify you of their intent to transition to a different gender. It's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy at all to have that conversation with your boss, right? Nope. It's not easy to have that conversation with anyone. Let's just face it. But now you're talking about, a boss that you work for, and then all of a sudden, and you don't want to lose your job. You love what you do. You love your employer. You love your company, and now you're dropping this bombshell on them, and it's like, oh, yeah. It could go either way. So here's to the employers, though. Be prepared to address questions and requests from employees. Notify you of their intent to transition to a different gender. Okay. Write and implement a detailed policy and procedure suited to your own workplace environment to aid management and the transitioning employee when a transgender employee decides to transition on the job. This is very interesting because this is what we had to do. And I had to write letters to corporate and then letters also to my boss and bosses, and to let them know my transition and procedures I was involved in the middle of and trying to get through, and hopefully it wouldn't interfere with work much. I was trying to do it without it little to no lost work time. So it's tough to navigate, right? So we had to have that conversation, and I had to write a letter, and then we had to write it, get corporate to send all kinds of new laws. Okay, the bathroom signs have to change. Boom, 2 days, they're here. I had to have access to a different area where it was one stall bathrooms, as to not go into multi-stall bathrooms with having, all my fellow employees or peers. For me, it was it was a few reasons for that. Mostly respect for my peers, as like I said, they knew me before transition, so that was very difficult. And it would have been uncomfortable for sure for me and probably for them as well. So we had to do these things. So this is good that I'm reading this, because this is what we had to do. And do not make decisions about how you respond to certain requests from a transitioning individual based on where an employee is in the transition process. So basically, let them come to you, is what this says. Don't, make decisions. Don't make decisions on how you're going to respond. I'm sure it's tough. Keep in mind at all times that transitioning to a new gender is much more intense and intimate than simply changing one's name and dressing differently. This process is truly life-altering. So this, folks, if you want to know where I got this little article, which is very packed, as you just heard me read it, packed with good information. So I got this from Google's. He took me to ensuring the privacy of transgender. It's called Littler, littler.com. It's a website. You could go there and you could pull this up, which was a really, really very beneficial read, very informative. So I was glad I got that information. A lot could be said about there's obviously lots of difference between the hetero world and the trans world. But when we look at HIPAA, it involves all of us. We're all sitting underneath that same umbrella. At the one time, the trans people weren't in the ADA, like you just heard. Now it's in for discrimination. Now it's being, the books are being rewritten and given us that protection, gives us the same peace of mind each and every one of you folks have. And it's important because we want to work and thrive in life. We want to have the same opportunities that everyone else has, and should not be denied because we don't fit that perfect male or female image. And we shouldn't have to hide who we are to maintain a job either. So that's what I have for you guys on HIPAA. That's my 2 cents. I shared with you guys my experience. Again, if someone is going to if someone's going to share with you, disclose with you information about their lives, then that's them sharing it with you. That doesn't open the door for you to share that information with anyone else. That is yours and yours alone. So I would keep that very confidential, even as employee to employee. This isn't just about the employer. Remember, it's also about the employee. Each employer, the employee, if my friend one of the guys I work with shares with me something what's going on in his life, doesn't give me doesn't open that door for me to go tell everyone else his personal, private, medical life and information. It holds me just as accountable, right? And this guy could also come after me personally, and more than likely the company as well, for disclosing his information to other people. So be mindful. It's just not the employer who can stand get hit with that. It could also be us. So we got to be very mindful. I lost my little spot here. I don't know where it went, but I think it's here. So with that being said, that's what I have for you guys today. That's all I have. I got it all out there. I credited everyone I needed to, especially my buddy Googles. He's he goes to work hard for me. In closing, how do we speak up for ourselves when our rights are being violated? I guess that's a question I can ask. How do we speak up? Who do we speak up to? Right? Human resources, right? How do you speak up to your boss, or if it's your employer? If you're afraid of losing your job, that's the first thing that would come to my mind. I don't want to lose my job over it. I don't want to get anyone into trouble. Second thing that comes to mind, right? But then that's giving these folks permission to misuse your information, and it gives them permission to do it again to someone else. So at some point, someone has to make that stand. If we let it go, it continues to go. Taking action and just having, like with this post, when he put that post out there, he was looking for suggestions. He seemed a little uneasy. And what does he do? What am I to do? I'm confused. Well, you go to HR, or you sit, if you are, on a very good, work relationship with your supervisor, then you have a conversation. Sir, or ma'am, can I speak to you? I just, this was, explain what you've heard, and that you're giving out my medical information, and it's a HIPAA violation. And in doing that, you put my safety at risk. And hope that he or she will sincerely apologize and never do it again. We allowed him to get away with it. And in the end, someone else is dealing with it, right? And he's probably that someone else. He's the someone else who's dealing with it with the other guys. Let it go. That's what happens. Yep. So my brother says this is empowering for all those who are being treated unfairly. You're right, brother. I appreciate that comment, and you're right. And there's a lot of people throughout who's been treated unfairly at work. And we have either been one of them or known one of them, right? And I could say I didn't step up for those people in the past. I've certainly stepped up for them as I have come forward. But back in the past, I remember quite a few people, myself included, not being treated fairly. I was in construction. Let me share this quick story. As a trans guy in a female body, my first career was in construction. And I remember moving to Colorado from Florida, and I was in the union, and we were working this huge project, And I remember one guy who was he was the owner of a subcontract company we had out there, and he was walking toward me, and I had my hard hat on, and I was rough looking still. You know, I work construction. I was hot, sweaty. I was just like the guys, grunting and groaning. And this guy looks at me and says, "You're either a whore or a dyke." That's exactly what he said to me. To be out here on this job site, you either a whore or a dyke. I said, "Well, sir, I guess you never gonna fucking know. You'll never know the answer to that fucking question." Yeah. Stopped him in his tracks. He wanted to actually take that rebar he had and knock me off the side of that parking garage we were walking off of. So that was that's some treatment. That's some kind of shitty treatment. Been there and done it. I could tell you more stories than that. Believe me, I got piles of them. I've been there and I lived it. I know what that felt like. I know what it was all about. And I know what it did to me each and every day. Gut-wrenching experiences I had. But I lived them, and they're mine. And I'm going to continue to take that, what happened there, and push me forward. Because I knew I was better than that. And he never ran me off that job site. As a matter of fact, he was the one who got ran off that job site. So remember, and in the end, guys, someone else will have to deal with it. So if someone doesn't speak up, it gets pushed over to the next guy, like this guy I told you about in the beginning. And in the end, someone else is dealing with it. Maybe a worse situation for them. So remember, you know, this comes back to human courtesy and to treating each other with love and kindness and respect. And if nothing else, not the love and not the kindness, at least respect. Right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. And for those of you who showed up a little bit late, just when, you know, at the end, where it gets edited and it'll be published either later tonight or first thing tomorrow for replay. So catch the replay. I hope this was informative enough. I hope I gave you some places you could go look if you want to research a little, dive a little bit more into the subject. I'm going for it myself. There's so much more. It's just to read into this again. Every time I find a subject that I start getting involved with, I swear I could turn this camera over here and you'll see, which I can't remember how I do that, but right now. But if you were to see this, I have like 6, and I've only read you guys 3 of the 6 sites that I actually dove into, and it's because it's so extensive. So I wanted to take the best of the best, right? Boom and the boom, and that's what I got. And I wanted to deliver that to you, the best of the best, to give you understanding. That's it. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for being here. Drew, I appreciate you. Sharon, thank you always for being here. I appreciate your love and your support, folks. I'm going to have more coming up for the weekend. Like I said in the beginning, we had some technical issues with Twitch, and now that I think they kind of ironed it out, I'm seeing I didn't get zapped out. So we're gonna proceed on Saturday and Sunday. I have something really good we're gonna be diving into. Sunday's my trans day, and I know I skipped the last Sunday or 2 because of other things, but we're getting back into it. I appreciate you guys though. So stay tuned. You guys have a great rest of your week. Tomorrow is Fun Fuckery Friday, and I am excited. So you guys coming into the weekend, have a great weekend. Be kind, be good, stay safe, and stay healthy. And until the next time, I'm Matt, and I am, let's see if I can do this the right way this time. And I am out.
What day is it? And in what month? This clock never seems so alive. I can't keep up, and I can't back down. I've been losing so much time. 'Cause it's you and me and all of the people with nothing to do, nothing to lose. And it's you and me and all of the people, and I don't know why I can't keep my eyes off you. What are the things that I want to say just aren't coming out right? I'm tripping on words, you've got my head spinning. I don't know where to go from here. 'Cause it's you and me and all of the people with nothing to do, nothing to prove. And it's you and me and all of the people, and I don't know why I can't keep my eyes off of you. There's something about you now that I can't quite figure out, and everything she does is beautiful, and everything she does is right. 'Cause it's you and me and all of the people with nothing to do, nothing to lose. And it's you and me and all of the people, and I don't know why I can't keep my eyes off of you and me and all of the people with nothing to do and nothing to prove. And it's you and me and all of the people, and I don't know why I can't keep my eyes off of you. What day is it? And in what month? This clock never seems so alive.